Hey everyone, it's Luke here from LT Gaming and welcome back to the channel. Space fans, we've got something a little special today. There's a wave of upcoming titles that are doing everything from full-scale Starship simulations to retro-styled survival flights, to the kind of tactical combat we've been waiting years to get our hands on. Some of these are finally dropping long-requested features, others are about to release long-teased demos, and a few are pushing into entirely new territory for the genre. And for this one, I didn't want to go it alone, so Tom's here too, and together we're each taking on 4 games that really stood out to us. It's a mix of deep-cut surprises and heavy hitters that we think every space game fan should have on their radar. Before we dive in, do us a little favour, drop a like on the video. It helps us more than you think, and if nothing else, consider it your fuel credit for keeping this channel's reactor online. Now let's jump into the list. Intersolar 83 is a retro-styled space adventure that's been quietly building a cult following. It mixes exploration, survival and ship flying with a heavy dose of 80s sci-fi flair. You start out in a battered ship and slowly build your way up, flying between planets, scavenging and figuring out how to survive in a lonely but atmospheric universe. It leans into that scrappy, hands-on style where you're constantly tinkering with your gear and ship systems rather than just coasting through. What sets it apart is the vibe. The neon-tinged music, chunky UI elements and almost analog feel to the controls make it feel like you've stepped inside an 80s sci-fi paperback cover. You're not just flying ships, you're living in them, using a wrist computer, hopping out in a spacesuit or trying to track your ship down when you've wandered too far. It's immersive in a very different way to the big mainstream space sims, giving it a unique charm. And the big news, it's no longer just for VR players. The latest update finally opened the doors to everyone with a monitor, which has been the most requested feature since launch. HOTAS and controller support is now built in, the star map has been fully overhauled, and there's a ton of quality of life updates, including a revamped save system, a new ship locator compass, sharper menus and an expanded 80s soundtrack. What more could you want? For me, this feels like the moment Intersolar 83 becomes a proper contender, accessible, optimized and dripping with retro space atmosphere. And the developer wanted you to know that you can get full access to the game now via Patreon.
My next stop here is Beyond Astra, a real-time 4X that's clearly aiming to answer the question, what if Stellaris actually let you zoom down and design cities instead of leaving it all to a spreadsheet? Here you're not just sending fleets around the galaxy and arguing with squid people over borders, you're laying down planetary infrastructure, shaping architectural styles, and watching your civilization evolve from concrete and steel utility blocks to flowing organic biostructures. So why should you get excited about this title? Because most 4X games force you to pick a lane. You're either grand strategist, or you're making sweeping political decisions, or you're right down in the minutiae, fiddling with production queues and pretending your citizens don't hate you. Beyond Astra seemingly wants both. It's macro and micro in one. Empire-scale diplomacy and ideology, layered with tactile satisfaction of seeing your cities actually take shape. That blend of Anno-style construction and Stellaris-style politics is ambitious, but if they pull it off, it could feel like living in your own space opera. Devs have been pretty generous with updates. They've just finalised all the core city building systems, both planet-side and orbital, and they've moved into full asset production. Along with all this, they're polishing the AI, the lore, and even the flora and fauna across 20 distinct biomes. Timeline has slipped a little, the beta's now planned for late 2025 and full release next year, but honestly, if waiting means the difference between a masterpiece and a mess, I'm gonna happily wait.
Starship Command Orion Spur is basically the dream project for anyone who grew up rerouting power, shouting at a bridge crew and trying not to melt the reactor in games like Bridge Commander. It puts you right in the captain's chair of a capital ship with the ability to either issue orders or grab the controls yourself when things get hairy. It's set in Daniel Gibbs' Terra Diaspora universe, and it's aiming to scratch that very specific itch of commanding a starship in big tactical engagements while keeping you grounded in the moment-to-moment ship systems. The hook here is that you aren't just flying solo. Fleet management is a major part of the design. You've got comms officers, fleet orders, formations, and the ability to coordinate multiple ships in real time. And development is ticking along steadily. The most recent update confirmed that the communications officer system, where you'll direct not just individual ships but entire formations, is nearly ready for internal QA. That's a huge step for the tactical side of the game. On top of that, the team is working on new dev blogs, fresh music tracks from composer Joel Studler, and more promotional material to showcase the Orion Spur's atmosphere. With a playable demo and Kickstarter still on the horizon, this one's shaping up to be something special, and it's exactly why I'm keeping it on my radar.
Next up is Starseeker Astroneer Expeditions, the not quite sequel to Astroneer, but very much its mischievous cousin. Instead of being a lone engineer building increasingly bizarre contraptions until your base resembles an IKEA clearance aisle, Starseeker has you banding together as a crew aboard the ESS Starseeker. It's co-op expeditions planned from a proper hub station onto procedurally odd planets full of hazards, resources, and things that look suspiciously like they'd eat you if given half the chance. I'm excited because Astroneer's always had a lovely mix of chill exploration, absolute chaos. One minute you're planting flags, admiring the sunrise, the next you've accidentally dug through the crust and falling through the world's deadliest pothole. And I've got to say the devs have been busy lately. At PAX West, System Era rolled out their very first demo, complete with a booth full of swag and goodies for those that attended, and they dove into what's upcoming for this game. They're going to do a deep dive into gameplay fairly soon, along with a new community manager coming aboard, so this means more regular updates, so we don't just get radio silence until launch. Starseeker's not due until 2026, but it's already shaping up to be the perfect excuse to drag your friends into space and then watch them immediately suffocate because they forgot to bring oxygen.
In the Black has been floating around the space sim scene for years, and for a long time it's become a bit of a running joke. Is it ever actually coming out? I see this in the comments all the time. But at its core, the idea has always been solid, a hardcore tactical space combat sim from Impeller Studios built with ex-X-Wing and TIE Fighter devs. It's all about Newtonian physics, brutal dogfights and flying in a world where positioning, thrust and heat management matter more than arcade reflexes. If you've ever craved a return to the days of complex, demanding space dogfighters, this is what In the Black promises to deliver. Think less space opera, more gritty near-future combat in the void. And here's the big shift and the news. On October 13th, a playable demo is finally dropping. I have been told that if it lands well, the plan is to move into early access not long after. That's the most promising news we've had in years, and it's why I'm genuinely excited about it again. After so many delays and doubts, this could be the turning point where In the Black actually makes the jump from myth to reality, and I think a lot of us are ready to finally see what this long-teased combat sim can do. I really like the team over at Impeller Studios, but I would suggest this is their last chance to earn the trust of the people. Just a quick interlude to say most of you who watch the channel are not subscribed, so make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button because it helps smaller channels like us grow really quickly, and both me and Tom really appreciate it.
Now we're on to Starminer, the game that dares to ask what if mining in space wasn't completely boring? On paper it sounds straightforward: mine asteroids, refine resources and build ships. In practice it's a full-blown logistical puzzle where every bolt-on module matters. Do you fit more storage, or do you slap a giant gun on the side because you're worried about drones? Do you add solar panels or risk lights going out mid-firefight? Every ship you own is basically a Lego set, except this Lego can explode if you get the wiring wrong. This one is very exciting because mining is usually the side hustle of space games, but here it's the whole show, but you're juggling fleets, refining chains and automating your trade routes. And just when you get comfortable, the game will throw in pirates and drones to ruin your day. So it has that delicious tension of greed versus survival. Recent beta footage from this month shows how much death is already baked in. We see players transferring crews between ships, scrapping derelict stations for cobalt, building two-tier refineries, and even automating entire supply chains. One minute you're running a humble water delivery service, the next you're accidentally starting an arms race with a pirate station. It's part survival scramble, part RTS, part what do you mean we're out of silicon again? If the devs can balance this knife edge between expansion and annihilation, Starminer could become the rare game where building a mining empire is every bit as thrilling as destroying one. Falling Frontier, a game that asks the age-old question: what if Homeworld had a child with a Cold War thriller and raised it on a steady diet of NASA documentaries? This isn't your usual spam ships and hope for the best kind of RTS. Every move is deliberate. Ships have to actually scout, burn fuel, manage ammo, and navigate asteroid fields without somehow turning themselves into a modern art piece. Battles aren't a fireworks show, they're a tense cat and mouse hunt, where losing a single scout could feel like losing a family heirloom. Why am I excited about this one? Because Falling Frontier treats space like space. There's going to be no instant reinforcements dropping in out of nowhere. You have to commit to a plan, and if it goes wrong, congratulations, you've just donated your entire fleet to the void. And it looks cinematic in the best way, with missiles streaking across the black, ships venting atmosphere, and those delicious "oh no, I shouldn't have done that" moments that make strategy games memorable. And recently Stutterfox, the studio behind it, have been showing off more of their shiny new toys on Discord. We're talking reworked stations, radiator systems that glow in combat, and ships that look like they've actually been built to function rather than just win a beauty pageant. All the footage here is fresh from those teasers, not recycled, not clickbait, just pure space nerdy goodness.
Starship Simulator is aiming to be one of the most ambitious space exploration sims ever built. You'll take command of a Magellan-class exploration vessel and have free access to every deck, every system, and every panel across the ship. On top of that, you'll explore a scientifically accurate Milky Way galaxy, visiting distant star systems and scanning uncharted worlds, while living aboard a ship that feels like a real place, complete with a lounge and a bar where you can just sit back and watch the stars drift by. And sometimes when I make space videos, believe it or not, people will debate whether space is actually real, and will say for the sake of this video that it most definitely is. The draw here is of course that level of immersion. This isn't just point ship and fly. The idea here is that every system on board is functional, whether it's engineering, navigation, or life support. You can walk the ship in first person, mess with the controls in the bridge, or dive into the guts of the reactor. It's all being built to simulate what running a massive exploration craft might actually feel like, giving it more of a spacefaring immersive sim vibe than a simple sandbox. What's exciting right now is that the team has been steadily updating their tech demos, with the third major demo already live. I've also tuned into a number of the lives on YouTube where Dan builds his ship, and it's always fun and entertaining to see the amount of detail he has to go into. The big improvements include a redesigned Magellan exterior and interior, more realistic galaxy generation using real star data, and even the first alien civilization starting to appear. They've also been expanding ship systems, adding tutorials and polishing up small details that make the ship feel alive. It's still early, but the pace of development and the scope of the update show that this project is quietly shaping into something very special. If you're looking for that Star Trek fix in space, and yes, I mentioned those two words, this is going to be the game to keep an eye on.